friends, welcome back to my channel. I hope you're all doing really well today. So it is another sewing day. I'm very excited to get started on a new project. It is suddenly like sunny and 75 outside. It was icing and freezing last week, but this makes me feel like it's time to sew spring clothes. So today I'm going to make a little top that I think will be perfect for springtime. The pattern that I have is McCalls number 8199. I found this in my pattern stash. I bought this a while back. But I love View C for this pattern with the longer sleeves. I think it's very cute. I also like that this pattern has the different options, the little cami, the short sleeves, and then the long sleeves. And I love the design, so hopefully it works out well. The fabric that I have is from Joann's, which, side note, I am so sad about Joann's closing. I went for my last little Joann's run a week or so ago and picked up some fabrics that I'd been eyeing for a while because they were already starting to sell out. So I'm going to miss it a lot. The one that I have to work with today is from the Draper James line, and it's this beautiful embroidered cotton in the prettiest shade of blue. I think this is going to look so cute in this pattern, so I'm excited to get started. So I think that's enough intro. Let me go ahead and get this cut out and get started putting it together. All right, I have everything cut out and ready to go. I did have to make some adjustments to the sleeve because I did not have quite enough fabric for the size of the sleeve. It's just quite large. And with the width of this fabric, it was not quite going to work. So we'll see how that goes as we go on. But the first thing I'm going to work with is the front of the bodice, and I'm going to start by adding in all of my gathering stitches. So first I need gathering stitches along the front of the bodice front pieces, and then also along the top of the lower front piece. That's going to create the cute little peplum style. So I'm going to get all of those added in. Now recently somebody asked what happened to my wallpaper in here, and I think I shared on my members videos and then also on Instagram, but over Christmas when I was at my parents' house, it all came crashing down when the weather got really cold. And when I came back, it was just all on the ground and crumpled completely and stuck together because of the peel and stick. Again, that is not the wallpaper's fault. I think it's really just this old plaster in my building, and it got so cold that the sticky part just fell right off. So I decided to try and repurpose it for something else and hold off on wallpaper until I can do the real thing in the future. Now this next part I had to read about 10 times in the pattern instructions before I understood it, so hopefully I have it now. They say to cut a piece of bias tape and to get the length from the lining of the bodice. You're going to take the length of each side of the bodice, leaving out that middle dart. So I need to trim just a tiny bit here. And then this piece is going to give us the amount that we should gather up the outer part of the bodice. I'm just going to make sure that my gathers are more towards the center on this too. Okay, and now it says just to pin the bias tape over your gathers here, and I believe this is just going to act as some reinforcement for this part of the bodice. So we're going to pin this in place and then baste it down. So that bias tape is now basted in place, and now I can go ahead and adjust my gathers on the other side. And now with the right sides together, I can pin this together and stitch this seam. Pressed the seam open and then just removed any gathering stitches, and now I can gather the bottom of the front of the shirt and attach this by pinning it together with the right sides together and sewing it down. So I'm just going to adjust the gathers to fit. Now I'm ready to take this to the sewing machine and stitch across the top. When I'm stitching a gathered piece to a piece that's not gathered, I typically prefer to use the sewing machine on the gathered side. That way I can make sure nothing like this is happening on the other side of the fabric, and just make sure everything stays where it needs to be. All right, this is already looking like a cute little top, which is exciting. I'm going to remove these gathering stitches and then press this seam flat. One thing I did want to mention is that I cut the longer little peplum for this particular top, so it's from view B instead of view C. View C just looked really, really short when I was looking at it, and so I wanted to have some room to work with. And as I'm seeing this put together, I'm glad I did, because I think that cropped one would have been super, super, super cropped. So just keep that in mind if you're working with this pattern. I'm also going to trim this seam before I press it, just so it doesn't get too bulky, since this fabric is so thick. All right, we are now embarking on the great sleeve experiment, because I'm not sure if this is going to work. This is the actual pattern piece, and you can see it is quite a substantial piece. So what I am missing from mine, it's not quite reaching the full width. And so I'm just a little concerned about how that will affect how it sits on the bodice of the top. But we're just going to try winging it and see how it goes. Let me show you what my piece looks like, so you can see it's kind of cut off on the side here. This is all fine on this side, but this side is a little bit cut off. And then I made mine a bit shorter as well. I think this is going to turn out more like a 3/4 length sleeve on me. So, and I can always play around with that, but I feel like there's plenty of fullness in here, so I think it should be okay. It will just turn out a little bit less full than the original pattern design. So let's try this out and see what happens. All right, first things first, I'm going to fold the top down to make our elastic casing. This is one of my favorite types of sleeves to make, where it has elastic on the shoulder. I find it so simple, so I'm hoping that this won't go too badly here. Folding it along the fold line and then just in to hide the raw edge. I've cut a piece of elastic in accordance with the elastic guide from the pattern, and I'm just going to add this to the top of the sleeve using a safety pin. I'll pin down each end and then baste that down just to make sure it stays where it needs to be. So now this is where the construction of this starts to get interesting to me. We are going to take this sleeve that we just made and see how it has this little underarm shape, and we're going to go ahead and pin this and sew it to the top of the bodice front. And I find this interesting because you're adding sleeve before you've even added the back. It's just kind of a different construction. So I'm excited to see how it goes. So I'm just going to go stitch this seam in place. I quickly put together the bodice lining. This is basically the same as the outside. The only difference is that it has darts instead of gathers. So that is all assembled and ready to go. So taking the outside of the top, I'm going to fold the sleeves down first. So now we can get a full look at the top edge and pin the lining in place. And for the lining, I just used the outer edge of my fabric where there's not any of the embroidery. So you can see there's a little bit on the lower edge, but most of it is that more opaque cotton. All right, now I'm going to go stitch across the top and then understitch this. All right, well, I thought I was recording as I sewed the lining in and did the understitching, but apparently I was not, so oops. But here's where we're at so far. We have the front of the shirt assembled, and then that lining is added on the inside, and then there's the understitching that just keeps it nicely turned towards the inside. So this is my stopping point for right now because I've got to go run some errands, but I'm really having fun with this project, so I may try to finish it up this evening and add the back to it and finish up the sleeves. I think it's turning out cute.
Yesterday there was sun and there was rain, beauty in the mundane, and as the light startled our eyes, we let go of sparkly shimmer on her skin, restoring everything within.
All right, good morning friends. It's the next day now and I'm back to working on this shirt project. I got a little bit done already while Coconut had a case of the Barkies. She was making a lot of noise, so I thought I would just work on that silently. So I've gone ahead and attached the sleeves to the back of the shirt. And this is the part I'm not quite sure how it's going to work out because of the alteration I had to make to the sleeves. So crossing my fingers, it's going to be okay. We'll see. And then I also added bias binding to make an elastic casing here at the top. And what I'm about to do is add one more elastic casing. There are 2 rows of elastic here on the back of the shirt. So I'm just going to pin this to the wrong side of the shirt and then top stitch on both sides to create that casing. Then I can go ahead and add the elastic and then baste that down on the sides, and we should be ready for the side seams after that. One little alteration I did make after attaching the back is to reduce the amount of elastic in the shoulders. I usually find, for myself at least, that the elastic guides are usually a little generous for the type of elastic I use. But if I take a little bit away, it fits a little bit better and looks a little bit more custom. So that's something I usually will just kind of assess as I'm sewing something. I was just checking Instagram and I saw that Rifle Paper Company has come out with an Easter fabric collection, and I have this idea in mind of making a little shirt for my nephew for Easter. So super excited about that. I want to order the fabric and I think it would be so adorable. So I have that in my head right now. I keep thinking about making tiny little Easter shirts.
Easy, easy on our tiptoes, undercover agents of the other. We unravel, we unroll. Hand in hand, building castles out of sand, reaching for the grand. As willows align, we lose track of time. Head up high, now we climb. Oh.
Here's how it now looks with the elastic distributed through the back. I am going to go ahead and roughly pin the side seam so I can try this on and make sure I like the amount of elastic in the back, and then I can make any adjustments from there. And then I think we're ready to sew the side seams. All right, I just tried it on and here is the amount of elastic that I am going to take off. So I went ahead and just stitched this down so it won't budge while I'm doing my side seams, and it's gonna fit a little bit more snugly and be a little bit more custom. So for the side seams, they're giving us a nice way to make it a little bit more neat. So what we're going to do is open out that lining from the front of the top and then match up that underarm seam. And then what I'm going to do is just stitch below where that lining is attached to do this side seam. Then after we sew that side seam, what we'll do is fold the lining over and then slip stitch it in place so that everything looks nice and neat. Actually, what I think I'm going to do is just stitch this seam and then fold my lining back down and stitch the other side while I'm at the sewing machine. It seems a little bit more efficient to me. Okay, it is now the next day. I did not get that much done yesterday. I got distracted with other things, but I did get the side seam sewn. And then just now this morning, I got the elastic added to one of the sleeves. I did cut these down into a shorter sleeve. And so I think it looks really cute and works better with the amount of fabric that I had. So I'm happy with that change. So all I have to do now is add elastic to the second sleeve, do the hem and sew the lining in place, and then this will be done. I think it's turning out so cute. I do think I might add one extra little detail too, which I'll show you in a minute. All right, I just pinned the lining down on the inside, and one small issue to troubleshoot, if you notice there's a little bit too much fabric here in the center. I think what I did when I chose the amount to gather the fabric, I didn't account for the seam allowance for the darts here in the lining. So what I'm going to come back and do is just use a needle and thread and gather this up just a little bit more, stitching right through the center of the seam and then securing that really strongly with lots of thread as I sew the lining on the inside, and that should take care of the issue. So I'm going to go ahead and get set up to do a little bit of hand sewing for a while. But I did just try the top on and I love how it looks. I'm so excited. Taking a quick break from sewing to give you a tea tutorial. I'm going to make a London fog, which is one of my absolute favorite things to have. Mixing it up a little bit. I feel like I normally do coffee in the videos, but I've been really enjoying making these lately. So I'm going to start with a little bit of sugar. You can really do as much or as little as you would like. I'm going to do this very precise measurement of 1 capful of vanilla and then add my Earl Grey tea right into this. And I'm not going to fill my cup up very far. We want this to be really strong and concentrated. That should be good. I like to think of it as a shot of espresso, but tea. And then while that's steeping, I'm going to steam some milk. One of my favorite cafes used to do a London fog with vanilla bean in it, and that was so good. I need to get vanilla bean paste or something because I think that would be even better. And then once the tea is steeped, I'm just going to make sure that sugar is all dissolved, and then I can add the steamed milk. Let's do the taste test. Oh my gosh, that is so good. And then one last detail, I just sewed the hem, and this is the last thing. I just want to add a little bow here in the center. So I took some fabric and folded it in and just stitched across it to create a little tie. I'm just going to tie this into a bow. And now I can just stitch this to the top and then this will be done. I'm just going to use a needle and thread to sew this in place. Alright, and here's how the top looks like now that it is done. I love the way it turned out. I think it's so sweet and comfortable, very comfy to wear. And I love the shorter puffy sleeves. I think it looks really cute with some white jeans, and I'm excited to have this in my wardrobe for spring. It feels like such a spring day today that this seems like the perfect thing to wear. Coconut just woke up from her nap, so I thought she could be in the end of the video here. But that is going to be it for today's project. I really hope you guys enjoyed seeing this one. It was very fun to make, and I'm just excited about it. I love the color of this so much. It's just one of my favorite colors to wear. I'm going to pop up some pictures in today's video from the Cozy Sewing Club, and these are from their January projects where we made some really cute kitchen accessories, and I just wanted to share those with you. If you are interested in becoming a member of my channel, you can do that by clicking the join button down below, and that will allow you to get access to our monthly members project. There will be a new one coming up for March next week, which I'm very excited about, and it's so much fun to see what everyone makes each month. Thank you so much for watching and spending your time here on my channel today, and we will talk to you in a new video very soon, right? Yeah, thanks so much for watching, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye. Oh, good girl. Go take a little more nap. How about that?